The battlefield was silent for a moment, only broken by the sound of crackling flames and falling metal. Shadows moved between the broken walls of a ruined alien city. Among them was a young warrior girl, her silver armor scratched and her breathing heavy. She had fought bravely since sunrise, but now her strength was failing. The enemy had hunted her for hours, their poisoned blades cutting down her companions one by one. Now she was the last of her squad, standing alone against assassins who moved like ghosts. Her heart raced. Her hand shook, but still she held her blade tight. She would not bow to them, even if death was near. From the corner of her eye, she saw movement. A figure stepped out of the smoke, tall, with glowing red eyes and a thin poison dagger in hand. The assassin smiled without mercy, moving forward with the speed of a predator. She raised her sword, but her arms were slow, her body tired. The clash was short. Her blade met his dagger once, sparks flying. Then the poison blade slipped past her guard and cut deep into her side. A burning pain spread through her body, and she gasped. The poison worked fast, crawling like fire through her veins. Her knees gave way, and she collapsed onto the broken stone floor. The assassin leaned closer, watching her eyes fade. "You are finished," he whispered in his cruel tongue. But instead of ending her quickly, he left her there, certain that the poison would finish the work. With a sharp laugh, he disappeared into the shadows, leaving her to die slowly. The warrior girl tried to move, but her body refused to answer. Her vision blurred, colors twisting. She felt the cold stone beneath her cheek and the bitter taste of blood in her mouth. Her own people were gone. Her enemies were near. She realized with horror, this was how her story would end, alone and forgotten. Then, faintly, she heard footsteps. At first, she thought the assassin had returned to finish her. But the steps were heavier, slower, almost cautious. Through half-closed eyes, she saw a different figure approach. It was not one of her kind. It was a human, dressed in worn armor, carrying strange gear on his back. And beside him slithered a serpent, its scales dark green, its eyes glowing faintly gold. The human knelt beside her, scanning the wound with steady hands. He whispered something she could not understand, but his tone was calm, urgent. The serpent hissed, circling them both, as if guarding its master. She tried to push him away, but her hand fell weakly against the ground. "Don't touch me," she whispered, though the words were broken. The human looked at her with sharp eyes. He had no time for her mistrust. He knew the poison, and he knew only one chance remained. The serpent lifted its head, opening its mouth to reveal long fangs that gleamed in the firelight. The warrior's eyes widened, fear rising inside her. The poison was killing her, but now another danger hovered over her skin. Would the human save her, or was this another cruel trick? The human gave a short command, and the serpent struck. Its fangs sank near the poison wound, injecting venom of its own. She cried out in pain, her body arching, the fire in her veins twisting into something stranger. For a moment, her heart nearly stopped, her breathing shallow. Then, slowly, the burning lessened. Her chest rose again, shaky but alive. The serpent pulled back, curling at its master's feet. Darkness pulled at the edges of her mind. Her last vision before unconsciousness was the human's face, sharp and unreadable. Why had he saved her? Why would a human, her enemy, risk his life for her? The battlefield around them grew silent again. But the story of the girl and the human serpent had only just begun. When the warrior girl opened her eyes again, the world looked strange. The fire was gone, replaced by the dim glow of a cave. The air smelled of smoke and damp stone. Her body was weak, her wound wrapped in strange cloth. She tried to move, but her side burned with pain. Slowly, memories returned. The poison blade, the assassin's laugh, and the human with the serpent. Her gaze shifted, and there he was, sitting not far from her. The human was sharpening a knife, his armor scratched and old. Beside him lay the serpent, coiled like a shadow, its golden eyes watching her every move. Fear rushed through her veins. Her hands searched for her sword, but it was gone, placed out of reach. "Stay calm," the human said, his voice low but firm. "You move too much, and the poison will rise again." She froze, confused. Why would a human care if she lived or died? Her people had always called humans deceivers, dangerous, untrustworthy. She glared at him, though her strength was fading. "You should have left me there," she whispered. The human looked at her, his expression unreadable. "Maybe," he answered, "but my serpent chose you." The serpent lifted its head as if it understood. Its scales caught the light of the small fire, shimmering faintly. She shivered, remembering the sharp pain when its fangs had sunk into her skin. She had expected death, but instead, life had returned. Still, the thought of depending on a human's beast filled her with anger. "What did you do to me?" she asked. The human set the knife aside and leaned closer. "The assassin's poison eats the blood until nothing remains," he said slowly. "My serpent's venom fights it, slows it, sometimes cures it. It is the only reason you are alive." Her mind swirled with questions. A serpent that healed? It sounded like a myth, not reality. But her heartbeat proved otherwise, steady but fragile. She touched her side, feeling the bandages. The truth was clear. She lived only because of him. She turned her face away, shame and anger mixing inside her. Her people had left her to die, yet this human had saved her. The human did not press her with words. He fed the fire, gave a small piece of dried food to the serpent, and then to her. She hesitated, but hunger broke her pride. The food was bitter, but it kept her alive. Silence filled the cave until the sound of boots echoed outside. Her heart jumped. Enemy soldiers, searching. The human rose without a word, pressing a finger to his lips. The serpent uncoiled, sliding silently toward the entrance. She listened, tense, as voices passed close to the cave. The enemy spoke in low tones, hunting, their blades scraping the stone. Her breath caught in her throat. If they found her, she would die, too weak to fight. But the serpent hissed once, low and dangerous. The human's hand moved to his weapon, ready. The voices faded into the distance, leaving only silence. She exhaled, her body trembling. The human returned to her side, his voice calm again. "You see now," he said. "You cannot survive alone." His words burned her pride, but they were true. The poison still lived in her blood, waiting to strike if she grew weak. She needed him, and his serpent, if she wanted to see another dawn. That night, as she lay awake, she watched the serpent more closely. It did not act like a simple beast. It guarded the cave like a soldier, moving only when danger passed. Its eyes glowed softly, almost intelligent. She whispered to herself, "What are you?" The serpent lifted its head at her voice, as if it understood. Fear and curiosity tangled inside her heart. The human spoke softly from the shadows. It was made long ago by hands that played with life itself. He ran a hand over the serpent's scales. It is weapon, healer, and companion. Its venom can kill in seconds, but in the right balance, it saves. I trust it more than I trust people. She listened, but her pride held her tongue. Still, she could not deny the truth. Without the serpent, she would be dead. And without the human who commanded it, she would still be lying in the dirt, forgotten. For the first time, doubt entered her mind. Her people had abandoned her. Her enemy had saved her. And somewhere deep inside, a dangerous thought began to grow. Perhaps everything she had been told about humans was not true. The fire burned low, shadows crawling along the cave walls. The serpent rested with its head on the human's boot. The girl closed her eyes, her body heavy with weakness. But before sleep took her, she whispered words even she did not understand. "Why me?" The human did not answer. Only the serpent's golden eyes glowed in the dark. Silent, watching, waiting, the warrior girl woke to the sound of dripping water. The cave was colder now, the fire reduced to soft red embers. Her body ached, her wound still burning under the cloth, but she could move more than before. Slowly, she sat up, her eyes narrowing at the sight before her. The human was asleep against the cave wall, his weapon close at hand. The serpent was awake, however, its golden eyes locked on her every movement. It was too silent, too alert, almost like a soldier on guard. She froze, feeling its watchful gaze. The thought returned, this was not a normal beast. She looked for her sword, but it was still out of reach. The human had placed it on the other side of the cave, just far enough to keep her from taking it quickly. Her chest tightened with anger. Did he save her just to make her a prisoner? Her fingers curled into fists. Her people had always told her humans could not be trusted, that they smiled with one hand while hiding a blade in the other. And now, here she was weak, poisoned, and alone in a cave with one of them. The serpent hissed softly, and she stopped, realizing it was warning her. Even if she tried to kill the human in his sleep, the serpent would strike first. A creature that could heal with its venom could also kill with it. Her distrust grew heavier, pressing on her chest. She whispered bitterly to herself, "Better to die by my people's hand than live by his mercy." But her body betrayed her. The poison still lingered, making her limbs weak and heavy. She could not survive without help, and that truth burned worse than the wound. Moments later, the human stirred, opening his eyes as if he had not truly been asleep. He studied her calmly, no surprise in his face. "You are awake," he said simply. His voice was steady, like someone used to danger. "You should rest, not plot." Her eyes widened. Had he read her thoughts? She looked away, ashamed and angry. "I do not trust you," she hissed. "I saved you," he replied, his tone sharp but not cruel. "If I wanted you dead, I would have left you in the dust." The word struck her harder than she expected. It was true, yet her pride would not allow her to admit it. Instead, she glared at him, her voice breaking. "Why? Why save me at all? You are my enemy." The human leaned closer, his eyes dark in the firelight. "Maybe I am your enemy, maybe not," he said. "But the assassin who cut you down, he is mine too, and enemies of my enemies are worth saving." She swallowed hard. It was not mercy then, but strategy. Still, the question lingered in her mind. Why risk his serpent's venom on her? Why not simply let the poison do its work? The human broke her thoughts, tossing her a small container of water. She caught it weakly, drinking with shaky hands. The serpent moved closer, watching her drink. Its golden eyes never blinked. It was as if it could see her soul. Fear mixed with a strange feeling she could not name. When the silence grew heavy, she whispered, "You control it, don't you?" The serpent. The human gave a faint smile. "No, I do not control it. We are bonded, not master and slave. It listens because it chooses to, and tonight it chose you." Her heart trembled at his words. She remembered the bite, the sharp pain, the fire inside her blood. Was it really the serpent's choice to save her? Or was it simply another trick of this human's tongue? She turned away, pressing her hand against her wound. Her distrust remained, thick and unshaken. But beneath it, a seed of doubt about her own people began to grow. For when she was dying, they had abandoned her. Yet when she was nothing but a broken body in the dirt, this human and his serpent had carried her to life. That night, as the fire burned low, she stayed awake. Her eyes on the serpent, its body coiled like a shadow. She told herself she would not sleep, that she would not give them a chance to betray her. But slowly, against her will, her eyes grew heavy. The poison and exhaustion pulled her down, and the last thing she saw before darkness claimed her was the serpent's golden eyes glowing faintly, watching her, guarding her, or perhaps waiting for the right moment to strike. The warrior girl woke to the sound of distant echoes. At first, she thought it was the dripping water again, but this was different, sharper. Boots striking against stone, voices carried through the tunnels of the ruined city above. Her pulse quickened. The enemy was near. The human was already awake, crouched near the cave entrance. His hand rested on his strange rifle, eyes scanning the shadows beyond. The The serpent slithered silently beside him, its scales catching the faint glow of firelight. He glanced back at her, his face calm but stern. "They are hunting, and they are close," he whispered. Her stomach tightened. The sound of armored soldiers carried closer. She tried to stand, but her legs trembled, still weak from the poison. The human caught her arm before she fell, his grip steady. "You can't fight like this," he said. His voice was not harsh, but it carried the weight of truth. Anger flared in her chest. "I am not helpless," she spat. Yet even as she said it, she knew her words were hollow. The serpent hissed sharply, its head turning toward the entrance. The sound of blades scraping against stone grew louder. Enemy hunters, scouts sent to finish the job. Her heart pounded as memories of the poison blade rushed back. This time, there would be no escape unless... The human motioned for silence. He picked up a small device from his belt, pressed a button, and the cave lights dimmed. She watched, confused, as strange human technology pulsed faintly in his hand. "Sound suppressor," he explained softly. "They won't hear us leave, if you can move." She hesitated, pride battling with survival. Her people would call it weakness to lean on an enemy. But staying meant certain death. With a bitter breath, she nodded. The human pulled her close, guiding her carefully. Each step was agony, but she forced herself forward. They slipped through a narrow crack in the cave wall, the serpent moving ahead like a guide. The air grew colder as they entered the ruins beneath the city. Long hallways carved from stone stretched before them, covered in dust and broken carvings. The warrior girl's breath grew ragged, but she pushed on. The human's hand stayed firm at her arm, keeping her from stumbling too far. Behind them, the enemy voices grew louder. Shouts echoed as torches lit the tunnels. The hunters had found the cave. Her chest tightened with fear. "They will catch us," she whispered. "Not if you trust me," the human replied, his eyes hard. The word trust cut into her like another blade. How could she trust the one she was raised to hate? Yet here he was, carrying her through the dark while her own people had abandoned her. The serpent hissed again, curling near a broken archway. The human slowed, studying the ancient carvings. "This way," he muttered. He led her into a hidden corridor, one almost swallowed by rubble. The walls were damp, the air thick. Every sound of their steps echoed, like thunder in her ears. Then, voices again, closer this time. The hunters were splitting up, some moving down the main tunnel, others turning toward them. The human stopped, raising his rifle. The serpent coiled, ready to strike. The warrior girl clutched her side, wishing for her blade. Her blood boiled with helplessness. She hated being weak, hated needing him. Yet when she looked into his face, calm and unshaken, something strange settled inside her. The footsteps grew louder, torches casting light against the walls. She braced herself, expecting death, but the human tapped the serpent twice on the head. The beast darted forward with inhuman speed, disappearing into the shadows. A scream followed, sharp and sudden, then silence. Moments later, the serpent returned, its fangs glistening. The human's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. The girl stared, shaken. The serpent had killed for him without hesitation. And yet, it had also saved her. How could one creature hold such darkness and such mercy at once? The human guided her onward, moving quickly through the twisting halls. Behind them, more shouts erupted, the enemy realizing their scouts had fallen. The hunt was not over, it was only beginning. At last, they reached a chamber lit by faint blue crystals growing from the walls. The air hummed softly, as if alive. The human set her down gently against the stone. "We rest here," he said. She wanted to argue, but her body was too heavy. The serpent coiled at the entrance, its eyes glowing in the dim light. Guarding them again, the warrior girl closed her eyes, exhaustion pulling her under. Her last thought before sleep was bitter and sharp. She still did not trust him. She still believed he might betray her. But one truth echoed louder than her doubts. Without him, and without his serpent, she would already be dead. The blue crystals gave the chamber a soft, otherworldly glow. Their faint hum filled the silence, like a heartbeat hidden in the walls. The warrior girl leaned back against the cold stone, her breathing heavy. Her wound no longer burned as before, but the poison still whispered inside her blood. Waiting, the human sat across from her, sharpening his blade with slow, steady movements. The serpent lay coiled between them, its golden eyes half closed, but never fully at rest. For a long time, no one spoke. The silence pressed down on her, heavy and strange. Finally, she broke it, her voice low but sharp. "Why does it obey you?" "That serpent." The human looked up, his hand pausing. A faint smile crossed his face, not one of joy, but of memory. "It does not obey me," he said. "We are bound, not by chains, but by choice." She frowned, confusion twisting inside her. "Choice? It is an animal," she argued. The human shook his head slowly. "No, it is not just an animal. It was created long ago in hidden labs, shaped by hands that wanted power. Its venom was meant for war, to kill armies in silence. But something changed. The venom heals as well as kills. The serpent chooses when to give death and when to give life." The girl's eyes widened. The memory of its fangs sinking into her flesh burned again in her mind. She had felt death in that moment, yet also the spark of survival. "So, it chose me?" she asked quietly. The human nodded. "Yes, and that choice is rare." His gaze met hers, steady and unshaken. Most of strikes do not rise again. A shiver ran through her. Her people would call it sorcery, forbidden and unclean, but here she was, alive because of it. Her chest tightened with anger at her own weakness. She had always believed strength was all that mattered. Yet her strength had failed her, and a serpent's venom had carried her back. The human set his blade aside and leaned against the wall. "You wonder why I helped you," he said, reading her silence. "I will tell you the truth. Long ago, I was sent from Earth. Not because I failed, but because I refused to follow orders. I did not fight for banners or kings anymore. I fight for what I choose. And when I found you bleeding in the dust, I chose to keep you alive." His words struck her harder than steel. She wanted to call him a liar, but something in his tone stopped her. It was not pride, not mercy, but something different, freedom. She stared at him, searching for deception. But all she saw was weariness, a man carrying battles older than her own. The serpent stirred, lifting its head. Its golden eyes glowed brighter in the blue light. Slowly, it slithered closer to her. She tensed, her hand pressing against the stone. But the serpent only rested near her wound. Its tongue flickered in and out, tasting the air around her. The human watched silently. "It checks the poison," he explained. "If it grows stronger, the serpent will bite again. If not, it will simply wait." Her heart raced. The thought of depending on a creature's fangs for her life filled her with dread. Yet deep inside, another feeling stirred, something like awe. The serpent had no master, no leash. It decided life and death with every strike. And somehow, it had spared her. She whispered, almost to herself, "My people would fear such a beast." The human's lips curved into a thin smile. "Your people fear what they do not control. So do mine." Silence followed, broken only by the hum of crystals. The girl's eyes softened, though pride still burned within her. Her people had left her to die. The human had risked his companion to save her. And the serpent, the strange, terrible serpent, had chosen her. Her mind could not untangle it all. But for the first time, distrust was no longer the only fire in her chest. The human broke the silence at last, his voice quiet but sharp. "Your people will not take you back," he said. "They abandoned you, and now they hunt you. You must decide, cling to them, or walk your own path." His words echoed like thunder inside her mind. She wanted to scream that he was wrong, that her people would return for her. But the memory of being left in the dirt, poisoned and alone, silenced her. Her gaze drifted to the serpent again. Its golden eyes glowed as if it held the answer she sought. And in that moment, she realized a truth she had never wanted to face. Her people were gone. The only bond keeping her alive now was not blood, not tribe. It was Venom, and the choice of a human and his serpent. The chamber of blue crystals grew quiet as night settled. The warrior girl sat with her back against the stone, her thoughts like storm clouds. The human rested nearby, his serpent lying coiled like a shadow at his side. For hours, she said nothing, but her mind replayed every word. Her people had left her, yet the human had saved her. And still, her pride clung to the old truth. Humans were the enemy. Sleep finally took her, but it was restless and thin. She dreamed of battlefields, of poisoned blades, of golden eyes burning in the dark. When she woke, her heart was pounding. At first, she thought it was just a dream, but then she heard it, footsteps echoing in the tunnels outside. Not the heavy rhythm of enemy hunters, but softer, familiar. Voices she knew, speaking in her own tongue. Her chest tightened. Her people, her own warriors, had found the cave. Before she could rise, 3 figures stepped through the crystal-lit arch. Their armor bore the same marks as hers, their eyes hard and sharp. One of them she knew well, a captain who had once fought beside her. Her heart leapt with hope. They had not forgotten her. They had come for her. But the moment their eyes fell on the human and his serpent, their blades lifted. The captain's voice cut like steel. "You live still, but you lie with the enemy." The words froze her blood. She opened her mouth to speak, but the captain's glare silenced her. "To be touched by human tricks is dishonor," he spat. "Better you had died than crawl back poisoned and unclean." The human stood, rifle ready but not raised. He said nothing, only watching as the serpent shifted closer. The tension in the room thickened. The girl's breath shook, torn between 2 worlds. Her people, who had abandoned her, now stood ready to strike. The human, who should have left her, had carried her here instead. The captain's blade pointed at the human. "Step away from him," he ordered. "Prove your loyalty, and I may let you return." Her heart pounded. This was the choice: return to her people, or stand beside the one they called enemy. Shame and pride battled in her chest. All her life, she had been told that strength meant loyalty to her tribe. But where was their loyalty when the poison burned in her veins? Where were they when she fell in the dirt, forgotten? She remembered the assassin's laugh, the fire in her side, the fading of her vision. It was not her people who reached for her then. It was the human and his serpent. The serpent hissed sharply, its golden eyes glowing brighter. The captain stepped forward, his blade ready. The human raised his rifle, calm and steady. In that instant, the girl knew silence would mean death. She pushed herself up, pain burning in her wound. Her voice rang out, hoarse but strong. "I will not return to those who left me." Her words struck the chamber like thunder. The captain's face twisted with rage. "Then you die with him," he roared. He lunged forward, blade flashing. But before the strike could land, the serpent struck first. Its fangs sank deep into the captain's wrist, venom burning through his veins. The man screamed, dropping his blade, collapsing in agony. The other warriors froze, fear flashing in their eyes. They had seen the serpent's choice, and they knew there was no cure, no escape. With sharp curses, they fled into the tunnels, leaving their captain writhing on the ground. Moments later, silence returned, broken only by the man's fading cries. The girl stood trembling, her chest heaving. Her people had offered her a path back, but it was paved with betrayal. She looked at the human, still standing steady, the serpent curling back to his side. In that moment, the weight of her decision sank into her bones. She had chosen not them, not the tribe, but him. The human studied her face, unreadable. "You spoke your choice," he said simply. "There is no going back now." She nodded, her pride shattered but her heart strangely lighter. For the first time, she felt free of the chains her people had wrapped around her. But freedom carried its own price. The poison still lived in her blood, and the serpent's fangs would be her lifeline. Her survival was no longer tied to her tribe. It was bound to the venom of a creature and the will of a man she had once called enemy. The chamber fell quiet again, but the girl knew nothing was the same. Her people had turned their blades against her. Her path was sealed, and ahead lay only war. The chamber was silent except for the captain's fading cries. The serpent's venom had ended his strength, his body now still against the stone. The other warriors had fled into the tunnels, leaving only shadows and echoes behind. The warrior girl stood trembling, her breath sharp in her chest. The choice had been made, and there was no return. Her people had cast her aside once, and now they had turned their blades on her. The human had been right. Loyalty to them meant death. She pressed her hand against her wound, her body weak but her heart firm. She had chosen to stand with the man and the serpent. It felt like stepping into fire, but it also felt like freedom. The human lowered his rifle slowly, his expression unreadable. He did not smile. He did not thank her. Instead, he only said, "The path is harder now. Both their hunters and mine will chase us. And once they learn the serpent chose you, they will never stop." The girl swallowed hard, fear and determination battling inside her. "Then let them come," she said quietly. The serpent lifted its head, its golden eyes glowing brighter in the crystal light. It hissed, not in anger, but almost in agreement. For the first time, she did not recoil. She looked at the serpent and felt something new. Not just fear, but respect, almost a bond. As hours passed, they moved deeper through the tunnels. The ruins stretched endlessly, walls carved with ancient signs she could not read. The human walked with steady steps, guiding her when she stumbled. The serpent slithered ahead, always alert. Every sound of dripping water or falling stone made her tense. But no ambush came, only silence and the weight of what had passed. When they finally stopped to rest, the human sat across from her once more. The serpent lay between them, its body glowing faintly from the crystals. The girl studied its movements, slow and patient. She whispered, more to herself than to him, "It should have killed me, but it gave me life." The human nodded. "That is its way. It has chosen you, as much as it chose me long ago. You carry its venom now. It is part of you." Her chest tightened. The thought was terrifying, that she lived because of poison that lingered inside her veins. Yet there was strength in it too. The poison had not destroyed her. It had remade her. Perhaps she was no longer the warrior she once was. Perhaps she was something new. The human's voice broke her thoughts. "You asked before why I saved you." He looked down at the serpent, his face shadowed by memory. "When I was young, I watched my people abandon the weak. They called it survival. But I learned survival without mercy is emptiness. When I saw you lying there, I saw myself. And I would not let the same story repeat." Her eyes widened. For the first time, she saw him not just as a soldier, not just as an enemy, but as someone carrying scars as deep as hers. The silence that followed was heavy but not hostile. It was the silence of two broken lives finding a single path. The serpent stirred, its body shifting. It slithered closer to her again, its tongue flicking against the air. She did not pull away this time. It rested near her wound, its golden eyes glowing steadily. A strange warmth filled her chest. The bond was real. Venom and survival had tied her fate to theirs. Suddenly, the tunnel shook with a distant roar. The enemy had not given up. Torches flickered in the far halls, voices shouting. The girl's pulse quickened. The human rose, weapon in hand. The serpent coiled, ready, and the girl pushed herself to her feet, her body weak but her spirit unbroken. This time, she would not wait behind him. She would fight, even if the poison still lived in her veins. She looked at the human, her voice firm. "We stand together now." For the first time, he gave her a faint smile. "Yes," he said, "together." The serpent hissed, its sound echoing through the chamber like a battle cry. The hunters drew closer, shadows filling the tunnels. But the girl no longer felt abandoned. She no longer felt broken. She carried Venom in her blood, a bond forged in pain and survival. And with it, she would rise. As the enemy's torches lit the crystal walls, the girl, the human, and the serpent stepped forward. Three bound by choice, not by blood. Enemies to the world, but allies to each other. The war ahead would be long, but the bond they had forged in Venom would change everything.